Welcome to the It's Your Business radio show, bringing you weekly advice from the best experts to provide you with insightful suggestions for your small business to allow it to thrive in the competitive marketplace. The It's Your Business show guides you through the uncharted waters of small business and gives you a voice on what can help you move your own business forward. Dr. Stan Fine and Melissa Coleman are here to bring you great content to help you kickstart your business and put into practice all the information that they share. Okay, audience, here's Dr. Stan and Melissa.
Audience, hi, this is Dr. Stan Fine, the business doctor. Who are you? Who are you?
Melissa Coleman. Missy, as you so fondly refer to me.
I very fondly. Yes, you're right. Okay. Welcome, Missy.
Thank you.
Hey, welcome to the It's Your Business show, and we come to you on Saturdays at 11 a.m., and we are live on YouTube right now. If you go to US Radio Network on YouTube, you can see us all visually today. And then next week, then we'll be on Saturday here in St. Louis. Next week, Monday to Friday, we're on at 10 and 1 on My Genre Radio Network. Don't worry, you don't have to remember that. Just remember usradionetwork.com,
Yes.
usradionetwork.com, and go to the picture. You'll see a picture called My Genre. But you can hear all these on, if you're not at a radio or a car, you can also hear it on your phone. So you can hear us just about everywhere. We're there. And the It's Your Business show is a weekly business show helping small business America help itself with all the different topics that we go over. And we're out there, aren't we? We're up to 19 million a week now.
Over
19 million.
Mm-hmm.
I just can't believe the numbers, and it just keeps growing.
Yes.
And yes, those are real listeners. Now, today we have Mike Grimes. He's the CEO of Commercial Energy Consultants to talk about electricity and natural gas deregulation. Mike, welcome to the show.
Welcome.
Pleasure to have you here, as
Thank
usual,
you.
my good friend and member of our board and a bunch of things
Yes.
now. Yeah. So, Missy, why don't you, there's two paragraphs on commercial energy. Why don't you introduce him?
Okay, doke.
And then I'll get into it with Mike, and then we'll start alternating if you don't mind. Yeah.
Awesome.
All right.
Commercial Energy Consultants is a 10-year-old company focusing on middle to large commercial accounts. CEC offers these companies services by lowering their electric and natural gas rates. They do not charge for this service and have over 1,230 happy customers with over 1 billion kWh therm under contract. You're going to have to explain what that means.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
What makes them different is their reverse auction. CEC offers a way to have available suppliers in 11 states bid openly for your energy business. Our mission is clear. Bring your clients the low bid for their energy consumption. If, in fact, because of their competitive auction, they do not renew on an energy contract without talking with you first. So
Yeah.
I'll let you take this
Okay.
over and why.
It's all a tongue twister.
Yes.
It is.
I'm like,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. So anyway, before we start with Mike, he's also on television now. We just put a commercial on the realtv.com and valuabletelevisonnetwork.com. Every hour on the hour, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, you will hear this lovely individual giving a talk and plugging it. We have a great commercial on there and maybe more to come. And he's out there. So if you want to see him on TV, the television show, this same show that you're seeing on YouTube, replays 6 p.m. Monday to Friday on the Real TV network. So if you just want to see this show on television, you can do that also. So you can hear it, you can see it. We can send you copies of it. Whatever you'd like, we'd be glad to do. So Mike, what we're going to do today is something you recommended we do.
Mhm.
Okay. So, and I like it. The fact I redid my script again this morning, I was looking at it. We're going to ask you your most frequently asked questions and, just take a swing at the bat and because you're an expert, you're a president,
He's a
know.
pro at this.
But before you do that, would you just tell the audience, and we'll get into it right away, but just tell them about you because you're the president of this company and it's growing. Just let them know who you are a little bit if you don't mind.
Yeah, Stan, I appreciate that. Melissa, good to see you again.
Always.
I don't. A lot of people don't realize I was a stockbroker for 30 years.
I know.
And I retired, successfully retired. I thought the markets were high at about 8,000. Of course, they're now at about 30,000. So
You should have stayed a little
Yeah.
longer, Mike.
I wouldn't suggest you take advice from me as a planner, as a financial planner. But anyway, a lot of that's got to do with a product that I found that doesn't have downside risk. I was able to take my 300 clients, roll them into that product, and I could retire successfully, realizing they couldn't lose any money. They could get some upside, but they could. But that's a long story. It's a different story.
Okay.
All right, but
Mike, this is your radio show.
This
You
is
want
my
to share
radio
the story?
but you have to
I'm
realize
not uptight about that stuff.
10 years ago, when I
Yeah.
retired, you're sitting in the house with nothing to do. And my wife said, "What are you doing in this house so much? Why don't you get something to do?" So we had the chance of opening CEC 10 years ago when all the suppliers that we work with were up in Chicago, pretty much locked up there, and nothing was downstate Illinois. And then we consequently got a chance to move a few of them downstate. Then all of them followed, and that started Commercial Energy Consultants. So when we had access to all the suppliers downstate Illinois, we opened our company, and then that's primarily where we offer our services.
Well, why? Why did you? What was appealing? Before we get into the missing, I asked you the exact questions.
Yeah.
What was appealing about this? Why did you move into dereg at all? Because
Well, it's always been energy's always been an interest of mine.
Okay.
And we actually were working Texas for electricity and Georgia for natural gas. But we came to the conclusion pretty quick when a company wants to see you, it's on their schedule, not your schedule. And they say, okay, we have a board meeting at 7 and at 6, you're in St. Louis and you've got to be in Georgia. So it's just tough to do it long distance. And so what we decided was rather than attack the long distance market at that time, that was before e-files. This was pretty much you had to go make the presentations, produce the paperwork, get them signed. And that was tough to do long distance.
right.
So when we had that chance of all the suppliers being available in Southern Illinois, right across from where we live in St. Louis, it becomes a lot easier. If somebody says 7, you can be there, leave at 6:30,
Right.
and you're there at 7.
Right,
So
right.
it made it possible for us to start the company, and it's just been an American story. I mean, how do you end up from 0 10 years ago to 10,000 customers
And over
with over 1.3 billion kilowatts under contract?
I don't know how you do it.
And
Mike.
by the way, Missy, therms is what they term natural gas.
Okay.
They actually keep track of natural gas and therms, and kilowatts is what they do with electricity.
Those are the measurements, and just the sheer volume is incredible.
Yeah, it's grown nicely, and I just attest to the fact that we're in a free country, and where else can you start a company 10 years ago and be sitting on 1.3 billion kilowatts per contract? And it's got its own set of problems. You realize I had 300 as a stockbroker. Now I have 10,000 as an energy broker, and keeping them all renewed, keeping everybody happy is a challenge.
I don't know how you do it. I have no idea how he does it. Well, let's talk about the pieces of this deregulation. So we're going to kind of peel the skin back on it a little bit off the orange or whatever. So we're going to ask you questions that are on your website, trycec.com, and you're going to respond to it with these are the things people have been asking you the most frequently.
Mhm.
All right. Okay, let's get started. So are there fees incurred when you're switching to a new retail energy supplier?
Before I get into these specifics, let's do a big step back and an overbrush of deregulation.
Sure.
Because I think it confuses some people In the 13 or 14 states that are open, they're more familiar with it. But states like Missouri, for instance, that's not deregulated,
That's right.
doesn't offer a restructuring to their customers, but we're trying to get it there. It becomes confusing when you hear about it. It's really pretty simple in this regard. Let's say Ameren produces the power. Ameren's our utility around here, but all the utility produces the power. Other companies produce power. They all put it up on the grid, and then they pull it off the grid when you need it. And let's put a dollar value. Let's say they pull it off at $1, add their overhead to it, which is about $1, and they deliver it to their customers at $2.
Wow.
Now, that's how it happens in a non-restructured state. They're just putting it up on the grid. They're taking it off. They're putting a price on it, and then they're putting their overhead on it, and they're delivering it to their customers. All right. Now, what happens in a deregulated state like Illinois or Ohio or Pennsylvania, most of the states out west,
Right.
they, by law, are allowed to, these new suppliers, for instance, let's say Constellation, can pull the power off the grid at the same cost as the local utility. That's the law. Just to make it equal and fair, because they opened up the state, they allow these suppliers to pull it off the grid at the same cost that they have with the incumbent utility, in this case, Ameren in our case. All right, now, the next step's the overhead, and this is where the key is. They don't have the overhead that Ameren has.
No.
They have a lot less overhead because they have computers that just go get wholesale power from anywhere, not just, they deliver it with maybe a 10 cents worth of overhead on it. All right, so you have $1 plus the overhead of 10 delivered to the customer at $1.10. All right, so this is the exact same power. They're not creating new poles. They're not creating new generation. They're not creating new wires. It's the exact same power with less overhead on it. And that pretty much, you understand with deregulation, how it works. Now, your question was more specific. If I have a supplier, if I've got it from someplace and his price is higher, can I move to another supplier without cost?
Right.
And that's a little bit more difficult, and it works out. There isn't a fee to do it, but there may be, excuse me, read that first question to me because I might be confused.
Yeah, I was thinking we're getting ahead to the next question,
Yeah,
and I want to, because I came out of the phone industry, so
Right.
I was at the start of deregulation of Southwestern Bell.
Mhm.
So I was in Washington, D.C. in the good old drink your, have fun and get buddies with your lawyers and everything in D.C. I was in that generation. So, all right, the question was, are there fees incurred when switching to a new retail energy supplier? That is the question.
Yeah, that's a good question because you just have to be there to experience it to understand that question. But here's how it goes.
All right.
If you have a supplier, if you've picked one, either whatever, they were, there's several different ways to get them, but you got one. But your price is, say, $6. Here comes a broker in your room and he says, I can do that at $5. Well, why don't I take the $5? Well, because you signed a contract with the first one. And that contract's very specific. It's for a year period, 3-year period, 5-year period. But if you break that, you're in a situation where you have a contract that you have to adhere to. So there may be a penalty to move that to the
Are you
lower rate.
referring to a penalty with another supplier or with Ameren?
The current supplier that you have has you under contract.
Whomever that is.
Whoever that is.
Okay.
And if you decide to move away from that contract to another contract, you have to kind of live with what that contract says. And that's why at our company, CEC, we don't take any business from other suppliers unless we've read their contract.
Right.
We want to make certain that there is no penalty. We want to make certain that the contract's up for bid. And at that point, we'll sometimes write a contract to come to take over when the other contract is out of penalty.
Okay.
So you be careful with that because I've run into brokers that I compete against that will take an account regardless of the contract. And in other words, all they're doing is taking business from other brokers, and then the client's left paying a penalty.
Well, in this first question, we're talking about, you're going to buy deregulated electricity from somebody. So the fee is the impactful statement. With that, I'll turn it to Melissa.
Okay. So if I'm currently under a contract with a retail energy supplier, am I able to make changes?
We just we
I
addressed
mean,
that,
kind
but
of, yeah.
yeah, but
Let's go. We can beat the horse.
No, the thought is, it's not like, well, it is like a CD. If you're in a CD at a 10 rate and some other bank was going to offer you 12,
Yeah.
can you move over to the 12?
Can you?
No, you have a penalty to get out of the 10. So it's just like that. You have a contract, you have to know what it says. And a lot of times you get a phone call, you say, okay, and it's over. You see it show up on your bill. It's a good rate, but all of a sudden you found a better rate.
Right.
And now you say, well, I'm going to go to that better rate. Well, you better check that contract you signed with the first rate.
Can I have a follow-up question
Sure.
to that? So if somebody is in a contract and
Mhm.
let's say the rate is substantially better, is it often worth the penalty to switch at times, or are those penalties more extreme than switching to the lower rate?
It's a good question, and it gets into what the suppliers have done.
Mhm.
In other words, generally the suppliers aren't taking any risk in this transaction. In other words, when they're saying they're going to guarantee you a 10 rate, well, they're going to go out and hedge it in the market at 10. And so if rates go up or down, they don't have any risk because they sold it at 10 and they bought it at 10.
Right.
So they're just hedged. Here's the problem.
Okay.
If rates go substantially higher and you want to move away from that, well, because they bought it at 10 and it's higher, aren't in a bad financial position. But if rates go substantially lower, in other words, if you're in a 10 and rates go to 5, you want to move away from that 10 and get to 5, they bought it at 10, now they have to sell it at 5. And that becomes the problem. They're not going to take a loss. These suppliers, they're going to pass it on to the consumer that signed that contract.
Well, you said something that's in the response that you're right now. I want to read it to you. There is no risk as long as the energy supplier is certified. Your incumbent energy provider still handles the nuts and bolts, and Ameren, this is what got me. Ameren even encourages customers to take advantage of the deregulation of electricity. Really?
Well, sure. And because
would
because
they
it's a
do that?
law. In other words, it was voted on by the legislature
Okay.
to make this available to the consumers. So they can't, they would have had to fight that before the law was passed.
Okay.
So as long as, they're told, and they realize something, they can't really get competitive on the delivery side of it. They're competitive, on the supply side of it. They're competitive on the delivery side of it.
Okay.
But what that gets to is they really don't stand in the way. They know that the customer has a choice. And guess what, guys? A choice brings competition into the market. And guess what competition does?
It drives price down.
It drives prices down. That's why when we go to the legislature in a non-deregulated state like Missouri and say, hey, we're down 26% over the last 3 years, you're up 38%, you don't have any competition. The suppliers that I have are under competition all the time.
Is that why they fight it so hard in Jefferson City, the capital for Missouri, that whenever these issues come up, they really push hard to not let it be addressed?
Oh, I've been involved with these hearings. I've heard what they say, and I don't really get involved. I don't try to get too deep into it other than show the performance. And those are good numbers. I just presented that last year to the Missouri State Legislature. We're over an 8-year period down 26%, our suppliers, because of competition. And they're up 38% because there is no competition.
Mm-hmm.
And in a non-deregulated state, whatever you see on that bill is what you get to pay. You don't have any say-so on it.
Nope.
But in a deregulated state, if you don't like what they're charging you, then you can go and get another supplier that's less. And that competition keeps the utility in order, and it keeps the suppliers not doing something that they shouldn't do and jack the rates, because you can always go to another one.
You can't just flip on a whim. You have to go through a process, right?
You do, and
Yeah.
of course, that's a kind of a in the weeds with us. There's a variable rate and there's a fixed rate. If you're on a fixed rate, you're under contract. But if you're on a variable rate, it's generally an open contract
Okay.
to where you can get out of it anytime you want. But because it's not a fixed rate, if they want to go from 5 one month to 25 the next month, they can do so.
Mhm.
And then that brings the problem to the consumer because they're not watching it. They're expecting their broker to watch it. And instead of paying 5, they're paying 25. And then we got to get in there and change suppliers, and it makes makes our job a little bit more difficult.
Okay. Is it your turn or mine, honey?
It is yours.
Okay.
Yes.
All right. Next question, Mr. Mike. Will I still be the incumbent provider's customer, referring to their dereg electricity? What's the difference?
That's a good question because people think, oh, if I do this, I'm going to move into this new supplier. And then if something goes wrong with my power, I got to call this person I don't know and have them fix it. And, they don't want to take on that responsibility. So when they change these laws, these legislators change the law to allow these suppliers in,
Right.
they only change the supply side of the equation.
Okay.
In other words, that power cost is under bid, but that delivery, which are the lines, which are the poles, which are all the trucks that fix everything, is not deregulated. That's still with the incumbent utility.
That's the fixed assets.
That's the actual delivery costs.
Oh, got it.
Are
Okay.
with the supplier, and they, in this case, Ameren, they have all the trucks, they have all the poles, all the
Right.
lines, all the fixed stuff, that if something goes wrong with it, you call them to fix it. But if you don't like the price you're paying to the person that's supplying the power, then you can call me and I'll get you another supplier if you're out of contract.
Well, I want to bring a point up too before we go to the next question, because Mike and I have been talking about this for 10 years or a long time.
Yeah.
And okay, audience, this is your opportunity. If you're in Missouri, but you got places in Illinois or Indiana or Texas, Mike can help you with other cities until Missouri becomes deregulated. So he can look at your other locations and, he'll be glad to tell you what cities he's in, what states he's in, and he'll be able to help you with that. So there are choices. You can talk to him about, if you got electric bills in your multi-operational organization, he can look at your other, right? He can look at your other cities and maybe pick that apart and try to help them.
Yeah, I just got some Nebraska bills in today.
Okay.
I'm in downstate Illinois. I'm in St. Louis. But I'm available. My services are available in the 14 states that are open. So somebody buys a new location in Nebraska.
Right.
They've used me in Illinois and says, hey, can you help me in Nebraska? Well, you have to look then into the rules of Nebraska and realize that only natural gas is open in Nebraska.
Okay.
Electricity's not. But he goes, okay, so show me a bid for the natural gas then.
How does that play out?
And I have to take some time, go into the markets, bid it out, and then get back to him with pricing. And I have to spend a little time understanding what the rules are in Nebraska. So it doesn't take that much time. I mean, we have a group up in Chicago that runs our back office for it. I'll put some inquiries in, they'll get me the information, and then I'll get them some bids. But that's the nice thing about it. Those nowadays, 10 years later, I'll have what's called an e-file. I'll have a bid from a competitive auction, and then I'll have an e-file that I can send that customer, and they can execute it just with a signature and send it back to me.
Oh, they can do it electronically.
They can do it electronically,
Okay.
which opens up our effort in the other 14 states. As I have some bids out to somebody in New Jersey and Ohio, and I sent them an email today of why to use our company. That's the problem with long distance business, is you don't have a real relationship. You're not sitting here having a cup of coffee with them. You're pretty much relying on your sales process on the phone.
Right.
And I'm sure other people out there was good as mine, and it becomes just to a fee.
I don't
Who's
think
got the
you're
lowest
pretty
fine?
good, or you wouldn't have the amount of business you got. So don't you think he's kind of be okay?
I would say so.
Yeah, just a reminder, audience, you are listening to the It's Your Business Show, coming to you every Thursday at 11 and Saturday at 11, and also on my genre radio network nationwide at 10 a.m. and 1 p.m. And with that, I will deflect to Madam Missy.
Well, I have a question regarding the other states that are not deregulated.
Mhm.
Is it a similar situation like Missouri with Ameren? Is it there's one sole provider and they fight it at the legislative spot
Mhm.
and keep it from coming into the state?
That's generally what happens. Here's an interesting tidbit. Remember Enron,
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
the company that
Who
went
can forget
under and took the CPA firm down with them,
Yep.
and it's pretty nasty. But in our business, a new state has not opened since Enron's gone under. Isn't that interesting?
Mhm.
Why is that? Because Enron was funding the legislatures to open the states. It takes money to do this.
Right.
So what we find is now 20 years later, we have the performance they don't have. Remember I said in an 8-year period, we're down 26 and they're up 38.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that's hard performance that we didn't have. You just can't say it. You got to perform. You gotta have results, and our results are fantastic. Competitions come in, and there's a new effort out. I'm handling the Missouri. My company's handling the Missouri effort, but Iowa's under play. A couple of these states have opened and closed. They're under play, but there's a whole remarketing effort in this industry to prove our go back in with the performance. It's good to say one thing, they say the other, but when they say they're the lowest and you can prove that they're the highest, then the legislators go, well, we didn't know that, and let's look more into it.
We're coming up to break. Before we do, how do people get a hold of you if they want to talk to you about this?
Best thing is to visit our website, which is trycec.com.
Okay.
trycec.com. And you can get a lot of this information that I'm putting out today. You can read, there's a video on that of our presentation to what our reverse auctions do. But that's your best bet. My telephone number's on there, or you can have it here. It's 314-608-3279. Now, I can give you some other numbers, but there are answering service. If you want to talk to me directly, just use that 314-608-3279. But I would suggest you review the website first. That'll answer a lot of your questions. You can actually put your account numbers into the request a bid right from there, and then we'll respond to you as they come in.
Well, audience, we're coming on break time, Jimmy. So I think we're going to flip it over to our chief engineer and cook and bottle washer. We'll be back after these announcements.
Many small businesses do not have a marketing manager. In many cases, it is the company owner that drives marketing and sales efforts with the gut instinct to survive. Even when small businesses do have a marketing manager, though, many of them are trying to navigate through the complex sales and marketing landscape with little to no success or budget.
How to Promote Your Business with Limited Money is a general purpose how-to business book written for business owners and marketing professionals by business owners Dr. Stan Fine and Joseph W. Clote. This guide is not intended to be read as a front-to-back chapter book and rather serves as a quick reference guide. Refer to this book as you need specific information and skip around as needed.
Promoting your business with limited money is one challenging feat, but there are unlimited ideas you can apply to achieve objectives you pre-establish. So put on your marketing hat and let's take action to start showing your prospects the value your business delivers.
A little you need to know about Dr. Stan Fine. During his 60-year career, Dr. Fine has become an authority on sales and marketing business development issues. His presentations have made him much in demand as a speaker and seminar leader. He has taught business development topics at numerous universities across the United States and has conducted over 500 sales and management seminars. Some of Dr. Fine's credentials in corporate America are currently Dr. Fine serves as a co-host of the To Your Business radio show on KRH 92.9 FM in St. Louis and a co-host of Nationwide Daily Radio Show on My Genre Radio Network on the Zeno Media platform. In 100 cities, he is also on a daily TV show on the Valuable TV and the Real TV networks. Go and get a copy of How to Promote Your Business with Limited Money today.
To purchase your copy of How to Promote Your Business with Limited Money, go to It's Your Business website at www.itsyourbusinessradio.com.
If you're looking for a new, informative health and lifestyle show to gain knowledge and inspiration to help guide your journey to think, work, and live more powerfully, then you need to listen to Sage Advice with Melissa. Now, whether you're trying to improve your life from a mental, physical, or spiritual journey, Sage Advice with Melissa Coleman, CEO of Sage Skincare, delivers weekly advice from industry experts to provide you with insightful suggestions to allow you to thrive with a better quality of life. Melissa's mission: to guide you through the uncharted waters of health and wellness and to give you a voice to help improve your life. So be sure to tune in to Melissa on KWRH 92.9 FM every Thursday at 10 a.m. You'll be glad you did.
Hey, listeners, saying thanks to your customers is nice and polite, but expressing your gratitude in memorable and ongoing ways can boost your business. At Promo Experts LLC, we exceed our customers' expectations. For over 20 years, our product knowledge and experience has helped them with their marketing initiatives and trade show graphics. We are happy to put that experience to work for you. Quality products, great customer service, and prices are our number one priority. We work with you to find unique, creative, and new ideas that fit your image and expectations, helping you build strong relationships with your customers. When you select Promo Experts as your marketing partner, we help you to see more than the big picture. For more information about this exciting opportunity, contact Diane Carson, President, at 636-458-5241. That's 636-458-5241. Let Promo Experts help you to move your business brand beyond the bland. Have you always wanted to write your own book but don't know where to start? Publishing Concepts, a publishing company located right here in St. Louis, offers everything from consulting, book printing, copyrights, ISBNs and barcodes, print book layout, ebook and iBook layout, graphic design, cover design, ghostwriting, typing and editing, distribution, marketing, and more for an affordable price. Visit publishingconceptsllc.com or just Google Publishing Concepts to get started today, or call 314-781-8880. That's 314-781-8880. Publishing Concepts. We help you sell more books.
In today's economy, there are more people looking to buy and sell businesses than ever before. When a company owner needs to sell their business, they can't just stick a for sale sign in the window. They need the assistance of a business broker to locate and vet potential buyers. On the other side, buyers rely on the broker to help facilitate the process of evaluating potential businesses and franchises for sale. A Transworld Business Advisor is the solution for both scenarios. Transworld Business Advisors focus on three core concepts: business brokerage, franchise consulting, and franchise development. Transworld has specialized in the sale of business and commercial real estate. Today, Transworld Business Advisors is a global network of brokers offering a turnkey solution for those that want to build a solid business and future for themselves while maintaining a balanced quality of life. With our comprehensive training program, full marketing support, and local field support, you won't have to start from scratch. Our trained experts and members will help you every step of the way. Transworld Business Advisors has 40 plus years of experience, 10,000 plus businesses sold, and 600 plus brokers, 250 offices worldwide. For a free initial consultation, call Charlie Scarlett, business broker, or Billy Rowland, business broker, at 636-400-6100. Again, that's Charlie Scarlett, business broker, or Billy Rowland, business broker, at 636-400-6100.
Do you want to become a radio show host, or do you want to create a radio show? Well, Dr. Stan Fine can help you to have your own radio show and put you on 100 cities daily across the U.S. And you can immediately start recording from a live radio studio. As a radio industry veteran, Dr. Stan Fine has 12 years of experience and has produced and hosted over 1,000 radio shows with over 10 million listeners. Dr. Stan Fine knows how to make this happen for you. He's a pro, and he can turn your dreams into a reality. Dr. Stan Fine will help you with everything from learning how to promote your show, develop a host persona, interview techniques, market your show on social media, teach you how to get guests and sponsors, and more. Dr. Stan Fine can put you on the air nationwide daily to 100 cities. If you're interested in making your dream come true, if you want to see how it all works, then give Dr. Stan Fine a call at 314-710-8413. That's 314-710-8413. You've got nothing to lose, and Dr. Stan Fine can help make your nationwide radio dreams come true.
All right, audience, welcome back. You're listening to the It's Your Business Show that comes to you every Thursday at 11 and Saturday at 11 and nationwide. That's on KWRH 92.9 FM and KXOK 102.9 FM, getting you in the downtown St. Louis, over into Illinois. It kind of spreads over into that area and then out to about Town and Country here in St. Louis. So we're out there. We're talking with Mike Grimes, who's the president of Commercial Energy Consultants. And I wanted to make a point. Mike and I go back really far when it comes to, deregulation. And what we mean is deregulation lets you get a product like electricity less than you pay the utility. And he brought up an interesting point that when you're saving 10, 20, 30%, that's investment capital that you can invest in other overhead expenses or other products. So when we talk about deregulation, it's a topic that, if you got, like I said, we're still working on getting Missouri open. But if you want to look at it, then you absolutely need to talk with Mike or check out his website, trycec.com. And, we're going to keep talking with Mike, and I'm going to turn it back to the other co-host, Missy Melissa Coleman.
Thank you, Dr. Stan.
You're welcome.
So, Mike, what if my power goes out or I have a natural gas leak?
That's a delivery function, Melissa. In other words, remember, they don't, when the legislators vote on bringing in suppliers, they're only dealing with the supply side of the equation. They're not dealing with the delivery side.
Mm-hmm.
And that is good for the consumer because it gets even better than that. The suppliers that they have, many times we can put that supplier right on the utility statement, because everybody's used to getting their utility bill.
Mm-hmm.
Stan, to your point, about 30% of a company pays about 30% of their business expense
Right.
is their utility bill. And if you can see a 10 or a 20% reduction in that, that helps you run your business.
Mm-hmm.
Likewise, if it goes up 10 or 20%, it hurts your business.
Right.
So that's why we're in this business, is we're helping small to medium and large companies stay in business to control their electricity expense. And I'll tell you, in a state like Missouri, just keep remembering this, you don't have a choice. Whatever that utility wants to do, if they can get it through the PUC, they're going to, as a company, want to earn more money. And you see these rate increases coming in all the time.
Exactly.
And you don't have a choice, so you just have to pay it. I think that's a terrible way to run a business, to tell you the truth. But anyway, we help companies reduce their expenses.
Mm-hmm. Dr. Stan, may I have a follow-up question?
Yeah, you know what? You can have two if you got.
Because my brain, it just
Her
goes.
brain is just incredible. It's never quiet, but when she's on, she's on.
So regarding suppliers,
Mhm.
so within the 14 states that you operate currently,
Mhm.
do you cross over state lines with same suppliers, or is it different suppliers within each state?
That's
No,
a good
there-
question.
There's a,
Thank you.
Missy, there's a
Welcome.
finite amount of suppliers. And you have to realize if I'm going to Nebraska, there's different rules in Nebraska than there is in Southern Illinois. So you just have to know what the rules are. For instance, to pick a natural gas supplier in Illinois, there's no requirement for any machinery. You just pick it and it goes on a piece of paper and you get it and you pay it every month. But let's say Nebraska has a meter requirement. In other words, they have to put in a special meter and a phone line to that meter.
Mm.
Metering requirements may be there, and that has to be taken under consideration. But that's why every Ameren's not available in all these states. There are different utilities you have to deal with,
Mhm.
and you have to deal with the different laws behind those utilities.
Gotcha.
I remember when I worked for Grant Thornton, the accounting firm, I was a senior manager there, and I was tasked by corporate in Chicago. And we were like the fourth biggest accounting firm in the world or country. And our job was to look at all of our locations and determine long distance, because long distance has been really big for a while in the deregulation industry. And we had 40, 50 cities and millions of dollars a year in long distance. And we had Sprint, MCI, and one other, and they competed against AT&T
Mhm.
in all of our cities. And they actually, they were there where the other guy was, you know? And it was, I don't know, it was $500,000. It was a 50% reduction when we got all the cities. We had 14 key punch techs working on the accumulation of all the data. But there's a good example of here, a big accounting firm, and we eventually gave it to AT&T, you know, and it just worked out that way.
Mhm.
But we were playing the big league there,
Mhm.
you know?
Now, if you're in a state that's not restructured to allow for deregulation, you don't have a choice. You don't think about it.
You're the victim.
No,
You know, you just
pay
whatever
it.
you pay it. But if you're in a deregulated state like Illinois, you start to think, well, am I paying the lowest? Am I getting the best rate? And that's why, that's why we are able to be in business, because we do provide the lower rate with our reverse auctions, making them compete against each other.
How big is CEC? How big are you in the competitive world out there?
Well, at the 1.3 billion kilowatts, there's not many of these of
That's
my
big.
competitors that are over 1 billion kilowatts. That's a
Really?
milestone in our business.
Wow. And you're in the 18, or you gave me 21 cities you were in,
Mhm.
because we just started playing that other commercial,
Mhm.
the video. Okay. So that you can take calls from any of those cities, and then, we'll see how it goes. But
Yeah, and you have to be licensed in that state. And the group we work out of Chicago makes those states available to us and is licensed in those states.
okay, so that's how it plays out. Do you do more marketing as a businessman talking to business people? Do you do more marketing in Southern Illinois because it's virgin territory, as opposed to Iowa or Indiana or Illinois?
Yeah,
What's the game?
it's
I mean,
over 90% of our business comes from Southern Illinois.
wow.
But it's because
Yeah.
you can join a network organization and be there every week. You can meet people over coffee. You can show up on a board meeting if they set it, at a time. But these long distance rate people we work with are generally e-files, as I've mentioned, and that's good and bad. It becomes really a rate case. If you don't have a relationship, they're not going to pay any more. They're going to get the lowest rate they can get.
You were on our show about a year back, and you got a call. It didn't work out to be a deal, but you called me. You were thrilled. You said, "Hey, we got a call," because nobody's ever calling, And he got a call from a place in Illinois or
No, it
Pennsylvania,
was Long Island.
Long Island. It had it was from Germany, owned by a German company, and it had 13 U.S. locations. And did they want you to check out their utilities?
No, they wanted to do their plant in Long Island, and it turned out that no supplier was available for them.
Wow.
The tariffs were so high by the utility that if they left the utility, they had to pay more to get a supplier that in the final conclusion, to pick a supplier in Long Island would cost you more money.
Okay, so that could happen.
And
Could it?
what's that all about?
Yeah. Well, here's an interesting question. What if my power goes out and I have, is that me? Oh, is this me?
Mhm.
She keeps me on the straight and narrow. I'm sorry. Okay. Will there be any service interruptions, or will I notice any changes in my service when I switch to one of your service providers?
No, there can't be by law. Again, they're trying to protect the consumers, and they make a default supplier always available to the consumer. In other words, in this case, Ameren's the default supplier. And if they move to another supplier and that supplier doesn't do what they said they're going to do and take over the account, the power will by default come from Ameren.
Wow.
So they've all, power is important. You can't run your company if the
No.
lights don't come out.
Yeah.
If the computers don't work. So you have to have that power. Hospitals, for instance, if you don't have power, people are going to die on you.
Oh, yeah.
So a lot of times what we try to say is, hey, if anything goes wrong with your utility, with your supplier, Ameren's going to back you up anyway.
This is scary. I was very successful. No, this isn't scary. I was very successful selling phone systems in St. Louis. All right. And I got really successful in hospitals, and, that was deregulated. So I went out my competition and I researched, they were recommending hospitals, and we had one where the hospital had 1,000 phones and somebody died because the phone system wasn't working under the watch of this deregulated company.
Mm-hmm.
I hate to say it. I played that game. I said, if you want to go with them, talk to the hospital administrator about a patient that died. Well, that wasn't really kosher, but they lost the deal and I got the deal.
Yeah,
but I mean, I'm not a bad person.
Well, no.
Am I? No.
The theory is you have to have power. And these suppliers and the utility understand that. You can pick a supplier, you can go get supplied by them, but if they fail for any reason, the utility is going to drop right back in. And
It sounds like it's good to have a person like you overseeing it. So
I say it all the time. You need to put someone like me between you and the suppliers,
right?
Because they're not your friend.
Mhm.
They're business people, and if they get directly in touch with a customer and they tell them 10 cents, but I can do an auction and bring in 8 cents, that's the key here. You got to get the low rate. We do it by making them compete against each other. But if you're just going to go with a supplier, they'll call you on the phone, go with them. You got to make certain that they're in business to make money. And if they can get a high rate in there, they'll do it. You don't know any better. If you're running your business and you don't have time to look at your expenses, all of a sudden you check into it and you're paying more than what the utility is. That didn't do you any favor at all.
So, Mike, CEC essentially functions as a broker then between
We're not a
the
supplier.
consumer and the supplier.
Right. We stand between the supplier and the consumers to cut down on the abuses that I've seen in the business.
Games that are played by competitors, you mean, or just abuses of people taking advantage of?
A good one would be somebody, one of my clients was coming up on a renewal and said, no, I took that 5 rate from Iglio off the East Coast, and I had just run into that company off the East Coast. They offer 5 for the first month, but it goes to 23 in the second month.
Wow.
So as soon as I told that customer, look, you might be getting a first month low, but then you're stuck at a very high rate, 5 times more than what the utility is, and you can't get out because there's a penalty involved. So I would suggest you cancel that, and they did, and we still have them as a customer.
Oh, that's really cool. Is my turn or your turn, honey?
I think it's my turn, but I think this is very similar to the last.
Well, go ahead and answer it anyway.
Will the incumbent power company treat my company different if I buy power from a new energy supplier?
That's really a new question, only because that is something that comes up a bit. I don't want to move to that supplier because if something goes wrong, I can't get it fixed. And if Ameren's got 10 people to fix and they realize they don't have the power from that customer, they're not going to treat me very well. I'll be 10th on the list. Well, that's what the legislatures addressed when they started the law. and they made it illegal for the utilities to blacklist any customers.
Gotcha.
They're technically, there's a wall. They can't, the delivery guys can't know what the supply choice is.
I wanted to take a half step back, and I don't think we clarified the reverse auction. Would you take a moment and tell people, because you conduct that, you're the quarterback, tell people, if you don't mind, what that is?
Yeah, a reverse auction is no more than an auction. If you're going to auction anything off, you want the highest bid.
Yeah.
The reverse auction is you're looking for the lowest bid.
And the lowest bid is being provided by whom is participating. Okay, here's Ameren or Con Ed, and you're going, wait a minute, you got a choice. And so there's companies that will compete for that business. And they won't turn their back on you, Mike?
And the CFO could sit down, stop what he's doing, and call all 150 of them.
Yeah.
And that takes time.
What a waste of time, man.
No, it takes time. It takes knowledge to know what they're offering you. It takes time to knowledge to know what different offers there are out there.
Right.
So what you do is you come to us, and we contact the 150 suppliers, and we put them on a computer screen, and we make them bid in reverse. We give them a couple days to submit bids. And then once the auction's over, we put a deadline on it. We submit the lowest bid to the customer. And that makes it, I'll tell you, the CFO that uses us says, I didn't have to talk to anybody. I didn't have to spend a lot of time understanding this.
Right.
I can run my business. That's what I'm good at. And all I did was deal with these guys, and they brought in and gave us the bid sheet. So we knew what the bids were, and we got the low bid out of the whole group.
Say your phone number again. So you also have an 888 number, but why don't you say the number you want to use, and ask them to mention that they heard it because of this show.
Yeah, 314-608-3279 is my direct line.
608-3279. Okay.
You'll get in touch with me. Now, if you go to the website, you can get the 877 number.
Okay.
Try CEC. But I will definitely mention, if they came to me and said, we heard you on the radio, I'll say, boy, that's Stan Fine and Melissa. They're good people. I'll definitely give you a plug there.
You know what? He's been loyal to this thing from day one. He says, I love you, guy, but I ain't getting no business. And so we're going to make sure that somebody out there is going to, hey, buy it from Mike. We'll take you to lunch, and you won't be sorry. How's that? We got a nice little Jewish cafe in St. Louis. And, okay.
Yeah, and that's kind of how it works. You have to go over there and see them. But that's good. I like those face-to-face meetings. And I tell you, you don't get 10,000 customers if they're not happy.
Mike,
Right.
I'm amazed, man.
Yeah.
I'm amazed that you got. What do you attribute 10,000 customers to?
We're saving them money.
Mhm.
But you're pounding a lot of pavement to get to them, aren't you?
Well, it's just business. It's your business. My business happens to be saving money for companies and saving expenses that what I like is one person told me, look, if it wasn't me paying 40% less for my power, I wouldn't be around to talk to you. I'd be out of business.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I was getting killed. I just couldn't afford it. And you came in, now we have this under control. And the difference is I'm still here operating.
Amazing.
And that's a big deal.
Because that's huge for businesses, those utility
30%.
bills. Yeah. It can be monstrous.
And the problem is the utility gets a rate case increase, and you're in a no choice state.
Mhm.
And all of a sudden you're having trouble paying what you did last month. You didn't do anything, but all of a sudden you're paying 20% more the next month.
Right.
And then you go, wait, it was tough operating last month. What am I going to do this month?
Right.
And then people go out of business because of this. 30% of the expense is due to your electric and natural gas rates.
The Small Business Administration admitted that there's 23 million small businesses from 10 employees on down in the USA.
Mm-hmm.
And of that, at least 5,000 businesses, I've said this before, at least 5,000 go out of business every year, and 5,000 start every year, and that number stays pretty constant. And so if we think about it, you may be one of the businesses that didn't have to go out of business.
Yeah.
Because I mean, we're talking about, hey, audience, whether you're the military or you're in Canada, you're talking about your overhead. Overhead doesn't lie. I mean, it's still overhead.
You got to pay for it.
Yeah, it eats you alive.
Hey, that's a bigger concern that pops up here is if I was moving into the Midwest with my business,
Yeah,
I certainly want to be over on the Illinois side than the Missouri side. Because I could
Mhm.
pick a supplier, I could control my electric and supply and natural gas rates.
yeah.
Whereas I set up downtown St. Louis and I can't. That's a big difference for a company moving in. And that's
Mhm.
what Missouri's got to realize. They got to offer competitive rates or they're going to start losing business for the state.
Mhm. Which
that's-
we've already lost a lot.
Oh, I would doubt it.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah. I mean, it's so amazing that here we are in 2023 talking about deregulation, and that horse has been going on since the 1960s. When the government first deregulated phones, they picked on the phone first. Now they're picking on these other guys. So it's my question or yours, honey?
I believe
You want to take it for fun?
it is your turn.
Okay, I'll take it for fun.
This one.
Oh, this one?
Mm-hmm.
That's a good question.
Yes. it
I
is
think
a
I
good
think I'm going
question.
to ask that question. Okay. All right, you ready, boss? All right, here you go. Mike, what contract terms and rate plans are available? And we're in the last 3 minutes, so what a great place to end the show.
Yes.
Oh, thanks, Missy. Okay. What contract terms and rate plans are available?
Well, that's up to what the suppliers want to put out there, but generally you can get a 6-month contract to a 60-month contract.
Okay.
So when rates are real low, I recommend the 60-month contracts
Mhm.
because you're just going to get a good rate and lock it in, not have to worry about it for 5 years. But nowadays, where rates are up due to capacity issues and stuff, where a lot of our businesses in 6-month rates.
Mhm.
We're just locking in a rate for 6 months to get it back to reissue it when rates drop after May.
Okay. What if you sign a client up with a low rate and a lower rate comes out with that same provider? Can you step in and drop it? Or they got to ride it out until their contract's over?
That's a technical strategy we use. It's called blend and extend.
Okay.
So, for instance, if I have a supplier and I lock it in at 10%, but in a couple of months it drops to 5%, I can extend the contract another term.
I get it.
For let's say I do a 6-month contract and I extend it another term at 5, then I have 5 and 10 for that period. Well, in that case, I would have just it all in the new rate. But for instance, person that does a 60-month contract,
Okay.
they can, if it's at 10,
Right.
and then they come up to a time where rates drop substantially, they can extend it out another 60 months, but that's 10 years worth of contract you're into. So that's why I think short-term rates are good right now when rates are up, is to lock it in. And then at worst case, you can always blend and extend it. But the best case is we're going to get it back in a short period of time
Right.
to rewrite it at those lower rates.
So it's that happy time now. Okay.
Yeah, that happy customer.
Happy customer. So, Mike, I want to thank you again for being on the show. Mike Grimes, Commercial Energy Consultants. Come back next week when Cleveland Rhodes will be here, the president of My Genre. We're going to be interviewing him out of Clarksville, Tennessee. And thank you, Mike, so much for being on the show again.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you,
Thank
Melissa.
you.
Thank you.
Always
Stan.
an education.
Dr. Stan.
There you
Yes.
go. Well, but not,
Have a great week, everyone.
That's perfect.
I won't.
Welcome to the It's Your Business.